Hello everybody and welcome to our English live stream. Today we're going to cover the subject or the topic environment and pollution. or write every sentence. Yes? Okay, my background trainer just communicated to me that we haven't had any volume for the 10 minutes I'm already talking to you, so I will just sum up what I did in the last 10 minutes, but no problem. That's not a problem. Oh, for me it's not a problem. Yeah, for you maybe. But I will just sum it up for you so you can follow me more easily. So today, our topic of today is environment and pollution. And I will focus on exam task analysis and strategies, what I wrote down here. Then I will, and my subtopic or my focus of today is note-taking skills. But I think you have seen what I've written down before, but just to let you know. And yeah, tips for note-taking while presentations, taking notes from a text, and then I will go through an example with you together. So that's what we're going to do today. Small introduction. And yeah, now I'm just in my first point, or my first topic, subtopic. So I will give you some tips while you take notes. So of course you should have a structure, because with a clear structure your notes can be read more easily. You can read them more easily later on, so when you need them, for example, for an exam or for whatever, so you can just read them more easily. So you should structure your notes with headlines. Of course, your overall topic has a headline, but then you should also use some sub-headlines as headlines. Because that's more easily for you to read your notes afterwards, but it's also, it gives your notes a better structure. And then only note keywords, because keywords are important. And of course you can't write down everything the speaker or the text says, so only write down keywords. And there's an exception, but I will go through this exception later on. So keywords, but not full sentences. Not full sentences. Perfect. Then to make it visually more easily for you, to read your notes, you could use some colors, but I mean, this is personal, what you prefer personally, but I mean, colors are always nice. Oops. Forehead lines. Or colors, not only for headlines, but use colors. And of course also use underline some words, because underlining words can always help to fix or to figure out what's important and what's not so important. So underline words. Underline words. I mean, you don't have to underline words while note taking, but later on you maybe underline them. So yeah. Underline words, or I also wrote down mark important information. So maybe when you are taking notes in a lecture and formation, and the teacher says that you should, I don't know, the teacher gives you a hint and says, this is very important for the exam, remember this. Maybe there will be a question about this, and then you should maybe write and make an exclamation mark right after what you have written down, because that could be important in the exam, and yeah, that's what you should know in the exam. So I mean, you don't learn for the exam, only for the exam, but yeah, exclamation marks can help. Okay. Then I also wrote down to be selective is also important, so be selective. Because not everything is important, so don't note everything, because well, maybe the teacher gives you an introduction and then he just greets you and you shouldn't note this down, of course. So be selective with your notes. So then I have another important tip for you, which is use abbreviations, because abbreviations can help. An example for an abbreviation is example, for example. Or I don't know what's an abbreviation. Do you know some abbreviations? Some different ones? Or do you know some? Maybe you can chat us or comment some abbreviations, because we can't think of any. Or Victoria, what's about you?
Well, you can make your own abbreviations. You can make your own abbreviations, maybe, that only you know.
Yes, that's true. So you can just invent some abbreviations. Or just find out what you can use in your notes. So find out what you like and which abbreviations you could use. But if you have some abbreviations you really like or you use in your notes, tell us and comment them in our chat. We will be very happy about that. Okay, then we come to abbreviations. I have another. Use abbreviation and symbols, because symbols make it very easy for you to write down very fast. Because when you write a plus instead of and, or when you write a minus or a hyphen instead of just a hyphen to connect words or to make a better structure in your notes. You could also use exclamation marks or question marks, whatever, points, ... Then when you have finished with your notes, then I would suggest you to number your pages. And it's also sometimes it's very important to also mark the date, because later on you won't maybe know when you have written down those notes. So you should always be a bit organized and write down the date as well. Mark the date. Okay. So what's then a very or an example I would like to tell you about is the mind map. I'm sure you all have already heard about the mind map before. The mind map. So what's a mind map? A mind map is like a picture, and it's like a picture, and you connect things together, and so you can sometimes more easily find connections between things, and you can maybe sometimes it's more easily to learn from mind maps than from a whole text. So I would suggest you, before you go in the lecture of your professor, I would suggest you to make circle in the middle of your page, and then you can just draw some lines so it looks like a sun. And I don't know, when you have, for example, the topic pollution, so you know the lectures about pollution, so you can, and the teacher is going to talk about nuclear power, I don't know, nuclear. You could write this down on a line, and then he talks about nuclear power and some, I don't know, for example, uranium, because nuclear and uranium are connected, so you just write uranium, it's written like this, and then he talks about, I don't know, what could he talk about? Radioactive elements, elements. So this is another branch of the nuclear power line, and then you have, I don't know, radioactive elements, then you have another line of radioactive elements, then you have another line, and I don't know. So this is that's a nice graphic, and it could help you to learn more easily from your notes. But I mean, it depends on you, what you like and what you don't like, so yeah. But that's just an example I found, and I thought it would be nice to share this with you. So yeah, that's all from our first point, note-taking tips. And now I will go on with note-taking while presentations, because note-taking while presentations is a bit different from note-taking while you don't see anything and the teacher just talks and you don't have anything you can rely on. Yeah, rely on is maybe but nothing you, never mind. Okay, so second point, note-taking while presentations. Note-taking while presentations. Yeah, perfect. So I would suggest you, because every presentation, and this I focused, or this, our second point is now with the focus on presentations with slides. So I mean with a visual element for you, so you can easily follow the presentation. So because every presentation has normally an overview, so you should maybe copy the overview, because it's when you read the notes later on, it's maybe more easily for you to follow your notes, because first of all you read the overview and then you know what your notes are going to talk are going to be about. So yeah, then I would suggest you, because normally slides have headlines or headings, so I would suggest you to copy the headings as well. Normally slides also have different points. Sometimes people tend to write whole sentences, but normally only keywords are used on the slides. But I would suggest you to write only down keywords. So when the presentation consists only of keywords, you should only write keywords of the keywords. So don't copy everything from the presentation. So only write keywords. Write keywords. So not the whole text from the presentation. Whole text. Even if the text consists of keywords only. So don't only concentrate on the slides or on the text on the slides, because people or the person who holds the presentation always talks to the presentation or talks in connection with the presentation. So you should also concentrate on the person who is talking. So be attentive. What the presenter talks about. Yeah. And then I have another point which I wrote down, and this is copy definitions. So for example, if there is a definition, and normally definitions consist of more than or about 5, 6, 7 words. So I would suggest you to copy these definitions, because yeah, I mean, you don't have to copy the whole sentence. If you could just copy some keywords and you're okay with that and you understand the definition otherwise as well, so you understand the definition, that's also fine. But yeah, you could copy definitions, I'd say. Definitions. And last but not least, I also have copied some sources for further research, because generally at the end of a presentation, the presenter also gives you the sources he or she used. So copy some sources, maybe for your interest, maybe because you're interested in, or maybe just because you need to do further research, I don't know, but sources are always a good idea. Okay, now I want to ask you and also Victoria. You could communicate in the chat, but Victoria, what do you have any note-taking tips, or any tips for our viewers, or how do you take notes?
Well, for me, the most important thing is to not take too many notes, and to just write down some keywords, and eventually one example or two to clarify the whole thing. But otherwise, I think too many notes will be too confusing.
Yes.
So just the essential.
Yes.
Thing, I think. Well, and everything you mentioned, of course.
Thank you. So what about you? What do you have any tips or experience with taking notes you want to share with us? I would be very happy to read your comments and your experience about note taking. So yeah, write in the chat, and we are very happy to read your comments and your notes. Okay, now we come to our third point, which is about taking notes from a text. Oops. Taking notes from a text. And that's what you should be attentive now, because we are going to analyze a text later on and take some notes from the text and gain some information, and the most important information. So taking notes from a text. So if you have a text or a book, you should always read yourself in the topic. What is the text about? What is the book about? Maybe just read the introduction can help you, so you know what the text is about. So that's my first point: read yourself in the topic. So in the topic. Yes. Then my second point is read the overheadings and subheadings, because then you know in which direction the text goes, and you can deep further into the topic, and you should do this before you read the whole text. So read headings. Headlines and headings. And then when you read a paragraph, you should try to find a heading for it, and then you should try to summarize the paragraph in a few keywords. So don't write down too much, don't write down too little, but just try to get the essential of the paragraph, and try to find the most important information. And you could copy this information, or you could find synonyms, so you just write the information down in your own words, but that's up to you, what you prefer. Okay, I just try to find headlines for each paragraph. And try to summarize it. Try to eat. Yes, but only in keywords. Only keywords, please. It makes it more easier for you. Only copy important definitions. Important definitions. That's what we already talked about. Definitions are important, and sometimes it's very difficult to find own words for definitions. So you can of course copy definitions, because that's very easy, but try to copy only important definitions. Okay, so don't copy everything word by word, but I think that's clear. Don't copy everything word by word, and last but not least, I wrote down try to review after each chapter, because then you will remember the things more easily, and then you will also get through it. And maybe when you took notes of something and you don't understand it anymore, you can of course reread it and rewrite your notes. So check your notes if they are fine and if you are fine with them. So I would suggest you to review after each chapter. You after each chapter. Yeah. That's it, and I hope you. Now you can. Now I'm too big. Okay, now you can read everything. I hope I gave you some important tips, and you can do something with them and maybe use them in your previous notes. So we will now go through a small text, and we will underline the most important the most important information of the text together. Okay, we will now use this one. Visualizer. Thank you. So do it like this. I have to zoom a bit here. Can you read this? It's a bit too... Yeah. Okay, as you can see, I already marked some important information, but we will go through it together now. So, nuclear power, how does it work? That's the heading, and as I already said, maybe it's good to copy headings. So, we will read it, or I will read it for you, and then we will go through it together. So, uranium is a natural occurring radioactive element left over from Earth's formation. The energy produced by the splitting of uranium in the reactor of the power plant is used as a heat source. This turns water into steam, which drives a turbine. The turbine drives a generator to produce electricity. The reactor is sealed into concrete and steel to prevent radioactive gases and fluids leaking from the planet. Okay, so it talks about nuclear power. And because today our topic is environment and pollution. Okay, uranium, I marked uranium. Is a natural occurring radioactive element. So I marked radioactive element. And for me, it doesn't seem very important to also, can you read this? To also underline Earth's formation, because, well, yeah, that's just an information, but not that important. So the energy produced by the splitting of uranium in the reactor of the power plant is used as a heat source. So heat source is important. You could also mark is used, but yeah. So the energy which comes from the nuclear power plant is used as a heat source. That's very important. Sorry. And then this turns water into steam. So this production turns water into steam, and it drives a turbine, but yeah, that's not that important. The turbine drives a generator to produce electricity, and that's important to produce electricity, because yeah, that's what nuclear power plants are doing, to produce electricity. And then in the last sentence I didn't mark anything, because I think that's just that's information, but not that important information. Perfect. Now we come to the advantages of nuclear power. So that's a heading, and we marked the headings. So the advantages. Well-constructed power plants are extremely clean and produce hardly any carbon emissions. Radioactive materials produces much more energy than the equivalent amounts of fossil fuel. 2 centimeters of a nuclear fuel rod produce the same amount of electricity as 1.5 tons of coal. Okay, I underlined well-constructed power plants are extremely clean. So they are extremely clean. That's important. And produce hardly any carbon emissions. That's also important. Then radioactive material produces much more energy than the equivalent amount of fossil fuel. So I underline produces much more energy. And you could also underline the equivalent amount of fossil fuel, but yeah, I wouldn't mark this. And then 2 centimeters of a nuclear fuel rod produces the same amount of electricity as 1.5 tons of coal. Yeah, that could also be important, so we could underline fuel rod produces the same amount as 1.5 tons of coal. But that's not, yeah, you can decide by your own. Okay, and now we come to the disadvantages. Disadvantages are: traditionally, the mining of uranium has not been very clean. That's the first point. Second, waste from power plants is toxic for many centuries, and there is no safe way to store it permanently or dispose of it. Transporting nuclear fuel can be risky. Then third point, power plants that are not constructed or maintained properly can create major disasters like Chernobyl, 3 Mile Island or Fukushima. Okay, so the disadvantages. Traditionally, the mining of uranium has not been very clear. So the mining of uranium, not clear. Secondly, waste from power plants is toxic for many centuries. There is no safe way to store it permanently or dispose it, so just no safe way. Transporting nuclear fuel can be risky, so I just marked risky. And last point is power plants are not constructed or maintained properly, can create major disasters. And I would underline Chernobyl and Fukushima because, yeah, but you could also underline all of the 3. So, how much time do we have left? We do have some time left. So, I have prepared another text as well, which is about Chernobyl, but I don't know how to manage this. Okay, like this maybe. Okay, and now you can read the whole text, and I will try to read it for you, but now I want you to comment what you think is important, and just write down the keywords in the comments if you like, and so I can see if you did understand or if you did a good job. Of course I won't mark you or whatever, but well, yeah, now we come to Chernobyl, but I will read this text with you and you could copy it as well. So Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant in the former Soviet Union. On 26 April 1986, it suffered a massive failure which caused it to spread radioactive waste across large parts of Europe. The incident was believed to have been caused by power plant operators who violated plant procedures and were unaware of the safety requirements. It was 400 times more powerful than the Hiroshima bomb. Between 100,000 and 200,000 people were evacuated from Chernobyl and surrounding areas, such as the city of Pripyat, that won't be habited until around 400 to 900 years from now, because there are still very high levels of radiation in the ground and the water. Chernobyl was finally shut down completely in 2000. Facts. First, as of January 2011, there is a total of 195 nuclear power plant units in operation in Europe, and 19 units are under constructions in 6 countries. Within the European Union, 30% of used electricity originated from nuclear power plants, which is a lot. There are a lot of different approaches to nuclear power. Some countries, like Germany or Spain, have decided to phase out nuclear power. Others, like the UK, Italy have recently decided to build new power plants, while some, including Ukraine and Finland, already are. And Austria doesn't have any power plants. But, well, we have one, but it's not, it doesn't work, or it doesn't produce anything. So we just build it, but it's not on. So I will just go through the first sentence with you, and then you do the exercise alone. So Chernobyl, that's important because it's the heading. So Chernobyl was a nuclear power plant in the former Soviet Union. So nuclear power plant is important, and Soviet Union. That's it. And now it's your turn, and I will go back to my main camera now for you. I am very I'm very looking forward to read your comments and what you find out about the text. So well, just let me read them, and I think you will all do a good job because you have the perfect notes and the perfect tips for it. So well, thanks for your attention, and we will see each other in 1 week, actually, because then Victoria does her live stream, or is going to do her live stream. And yes, we are looking forward to seeing you again, and until then, goodbye. And on Thursday there is our second live stream in this week, so we have 2 live streams, 2 English live streams in a week, and yeah, just watch it. It will be very interesting. Thank you. Goodbye.